So how you doing?
Uh, Doing good. We had like a hurricane was going to hit, a small hurricane was going to hit this weekend, but it didn't, which was nice. We stayed dry. Business is good. Family's healthy, so no complaints. How about you?
It's like such an American thing to be like, oh, we're about to have a hurricane, or else, I'm
Uh,
in Israel. Oh, there was a bomb not far away. No, I'm kidding. There wasn't a bomb near my house. We live far away from Gaza, but yeah, no, we're good. Business is good. Family's good. Busy. I'm not the best person when it comes to time management, but I'm working on it.
I think everybody's always working on it.
Yeah, I've been working on it for a long time. But I do my best. So everything was fine until I started the whole YouTube and the group. Life was so different before I started the whole coaching and all of that. It was 2 hours a day maximum on the computer, and now it's like 16 hours a day. So, but I
Yeah.
mean, you have like a full-on team though, right?
Yeah, 242, well, a lot of different businesses, but 242 VAs and 80 something domestic employees.
Wow, that's insane.
It is
Well,
insane.
you're on another level. So
Now,
it's
I'll tell you what, my goal is next year to one of them to just completely
excellent.
drop consulting.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
One. Keep like one, two max, and it's got to be people that I get excited to get up in the morning to talk to. But
mm,
I have some awesome names that would look good as a name drop, like, oh, I consult for, and
yeah,
but just they're stressful, and I'm like, what am I doing?
yeah.
Like, what
You've
in the world?
we're in different places, obviously. So you've probably got, really huge sellers, where else I'm dealing with. I don't really take on newbies because I don't have the patience for it. But in between, in between the, people that have already taken courses and then they come to me for help,
Right.
right? Because I don't have a course. So, but
Yet.
it's tough. It's tough when um, yeah, it's a tough one because I want to sort of stay away from the whole guru thing. Yet the coaching's taking over my life and it's not really what. So I'm like stuck in the middle. So I've got a workshop, which because so many people want, one-on-one coaching. Um, but you know, it's so tough. Like it's so tough in the matter of time. You have to you have to work. Like you have to physically sit down and be on the computer in order to do that. And it's great, extra cash flow, but it's not. We'll do
There's a
fine without it,
trade-off.
type of thing. Yeah, it's yeah. I'm in a place where I'm like, you're either all in or you decide to take a step back. But the fulfillment side of it is sort of become so good that it's as in, I guess I'm being a little bit like selfish here, but
Not
when
at
someone
all.
does really well and they're like, thank you, Sharon, it was all thanks to you. And you're like, it wasn't me, it was you. And then you pat yourself on the back anyway, type of thing. It's good fulfillment. So
Yeah, but you also grow as a seller by
seeing
teaching or consulting.
teaching and saying that's true because when I started last year my YouTube channel, I thought I knew everything about PPC because I'm considered myself so good at PPC because my PPC was so good. And then I was like, holy crap, every account, every product, every niche is going to need like a totally different PPC structure. Everything's so product dependent. I'm so stuck in my brands where I don't even, I didn't know anything else. I'm not as big as you are. I'm selling in heaps of different, I've got my 3 little brands that, I do what
I'm
I do with
envious.
them and I'm happy with them. And, we're scaling to sell and that's where I'm at. And then, so yeah, I've learned a lot even more and become an even better seller through that as
Well,
well.
well, I've had your YouTube channel open in front of in like 3 meetings so far with my VAs, not copying your content, but
No, no.
I'm launching a YouTube channel, and it's been really hard to find somebody in, let's call it our niche, that is putting out something that looks like there's a strategy behind it, like it fits an overall purpose, and doing
Yeah.
it consistently. So they keep sending me back these different looks and stuff, and I'm like, no, like this one right here. So
Well,
doing amazing
uh,
there.
thank
What's
you.
that like?
It's like a lot of people tell me that, but even like Ken, Ken Golzaris, who
Yeah.
he told me he was on your thing, and I was like, Ken, you should have been on the one with the newbies. He told me he picked to be with so I told him that I'm going to tell you that you need to have him back on with your newbies because.
Well, I actually have a question here to ask you. How do you think he would do with the newbies? I don't know him, but I think through you, and I think he did good I think he did really good in the advanced group. As a matter of fact, I feel like he mentioned 2 things there. I don't recall what they are now, that I really didn't know. And this is going to sound bad, but with that topic, I really feel when people talk about it now, I'm like, all right, like I know all this. Like, I guess that was my default. But he mentioned some things, not to mention his charisma was amazing. His delivery was amazing. He did really
He's
good.
amazing.
Yeah. So I would like him to come back to the other group, but do you think he
I
would
think
be a
he'd be
good fit for
good.
that?
Yeah, I think he's great with all levels. Because he does coaching, I think he thought that if he works with, the 100+ K a month sellers, that he could probably get consistent possible, consulting through that or something. But I said to him, Carlos has a really big following, and it's not affecting you, and it's not conflicting with what you're doing anyway. So I definitely think that you should. I think he'd do great with. He's done so many webinars, and I have a product research workshop, and he speaks there. It's not newbies, like they know about Amazon, but they don't have a product in Amazon yet. So, and he's amazing.
You and I have some overlap on the services side, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't be open to promoting some of your events to my group if you ever
I don't
want
have
to
anything
collaborate on anything.
Apart from coaching and apart from product research workshop.
Well, no, just so you know, it's out there. So in case
Thank
you ever think
no,
that you fit.
my problem is that I don't want to be put in the same like space as the gurus, the Kevin Davids and the Dan Vasses and all them, that I don't do any advertising. I never have. Yeah. My group, everything is just grow. And I only got into like this industry, not Amazon industry, like the industry of like in the speaking at summits and stuff in the last like 3 months. Before that, I was just a cute little YouTuber doing my own thing. And then suddenly like people are like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that?
So YouTube came first.
My group came first. My Facebook group had like 20 people in it, and then it had like suddenly 100 people, and then and YouTube came like 4 or 5 months after it. And then YouTube was being up for a year. That's why I wanted to tell you, it's not that my YouTube is that good. I've got great content, as in my content is in depth and I speak to them on a level where I am relatable to them, right? But I am not, for the past 2 months, I haven't been as consistent, and I'm well aware of it. And I haven't done ever any advertising or anything like that, which is how most of them grow, through Facebook ads and all of that. And I haven't got any like, oh, take my course, you're going to make $1 million in your first year type of thing, like all the Kevin Davids do. So because I'm not selling a dream and I'm telling people how hard it is, I get less subscribers than what they would get, but I've got really high quality people, which is what I want.
What's your goal with the channel, or do you have one?
I don't have, that's a good question. I don't know. When I first started the channel, I just was like, there's so much bullshit out there and I really want people to hear how it really is. Yeah. I started it. Have you ever heard of Dan Vass? He's like one of the biggest Canadian scammers.
Yeah.
So Dan Vass, there was a woman who just came to me, asked for help from his group. She has 9 children. She's from Australia. And she was just asking me for help. And
I lost me at 9 children.
9 children. And she bought his $500 course at the time. And she was, I don't blame him. I blame her. I blame the idiots. I'm sorry, but I blame the idiots that believe that kind of stuff. Because if it was that easy, we'd all be, 9, 8, 10 figure sellers, and it wouldn't be, it's not. And she honestly thought that with $1,000 that she's just going to be this amazing seller. She's going to do amazing stuff. And that's when I was like, who the hell is this Dan Bass guy? And then I started looking at all these people. I was like, holy crap. Like, these people need to hear what's actually going on. And at first I was like, well, maybe I can help mums. And then I was against just women, because I was like, well, hold on a minute. I can help men too. It's not just women. I can help anyone. I've done a lot in my life. And then I had the group, and it just, I don't know what my goal is.
No, that's cool. I don't.
Ken's like goal, for example, is to have 100,000 subscribers.
That's
right?
mine. That's a bad goal.
It's and I'm just like, I'm just going with the flow. I'm like, whatever will happen will happen. But I think that at some stage I'm going to have some sort of course, because I want to get pregnant again, and I don't want to continue coaching all the time. It's like, I don't want to take on, I don't do any like management or anything like that. I just do coaching. So I literally on the call go in to see what their problem is and help them. But I don't manage, I teach, right? Like a lot of the people out there manage accounts, like they run and stuff. I don't do anything like that. So I don't know. I think, are you going to have a course? What do you think? You don't know.
Like, we're very alike in a lot of things. Like when it comes to sourcing, not having a clue, I guess, on what the goal of the YouTube channel is going to be. I think I'm with Keon with the 100,000, and I know, I understand how much work it's going to be. I'm like, I want the plaque. I don't know. It's the only plaque I've ever wanted. It's also very scary to me having a YouTube channel. It's like terrifying. Like my wife's got to I go to her every other day. I'm like, I'm not doing this, I'm done. And then she's like, she's got to sit. She's like my rock. So, so I'm going to do it.
Beautiful thing to say.
Yeah. So she's without her, the channel would not happen. And so it's going to happen, and we'll see. And I know we're getting into a little bit of the time of the podcast, but what I noticed for you, it might have been easier to get, but Sharon Evan for the title, your channel name. Did you buy the domain? I
did. I've got the domain, Sharon Evan.
Yeah. What was I saw it, and I saw a few other people doing it, and I went and did it. But unfortunately my name, Carlos Alvarez, is the most common Hispanic name, period. So I paid an arm, leg, and a kidney for the domain. And now I'm like, what did I do? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, now what?
I actually, I only paid for my domain after one of my marketing guys told me that I should pay for the domain. I didn't even think about it at the time, because I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my own name? And my name actually isn't, my last name isn't Evan. My name in Hebrew is Evan Chen. But in English, people can't say the ch. If you're Hispanic, then you probably can. But it's, so they spell it Evan Chen. Like they say Chanukah instead of Hanukkah. So I took away the Chen for the A, and B, I don't want people to start, stalking me and finding out where I live. I come from New Zealand, but I live in the most controversial country in the world, Israel. And you never know, if it's like an anti-Semite or whatever watching you, and that was my biggest fear on YouTube. Putting myself out there. I hid that I was Jewish for ages until Lauren actually told me, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you don't need to. And I was like, but what if I go to like Amsterdam and like someone wants to kill me type of thing? And he's like, no one cares about you. Like, who are you? I was like, okay. So I like came out of the closet being like, okay, yes, I'm Jewish and I live in Israel. I honestly did try and hide it. If you watch my first ever video, I was like, yeah, and then I moved to Israel, and then I kept going on really quickly. And then today I embrace it and like, don't try and hide it. But it was, my biggest fear was because of that.
Okay.
That was really the biggest fear, because everything else, I feel like I can handle, people being like, oh, she wears too much makeup, or, oh, she's just a bimbo, or whatever, that kind of stuff that comes out.
Do you get that?
No, I've only had it once, but.
Oh, that had to be devastating.
Yeah. I've dealt being a woman in this industry. In any like I've been
No, but this one
uh,
specifically. I mean, I
the
run.
bimbo, the
No,
bimbo
no, no,
side
no,
of the
no, no,
game.
no,
Uh,
no, no, no. I don't mean that. I mean that it's got to be especially hard being. Let me explain. Being a woman in this industry, because or the Amazon
mm,
e-com industry, I've organized a lot of meetups in the e-com space, plus my group and just my groups.
torment.
Period. No, there's a really you had to be. I had to be intentional about it, but there's a lot of brilliant women in there. But what I think happens is that there's a really high percentage of men in this space that are socially awkward. And I think it's because you can start this business, be successful in your mom's basement without having really had to have dealt with people. And
Yeah,
so you have this, like in any other business in the world, like before my Amazon business, I needed to get out there and deal with people. Um, there was social skills that you just had to have or you didn't survive. So if I didn't have that and I just lived my 16 plus hours in front of the computer, I would have this really like lopsided feeling of like power and success from my businesses, but not knowing how to approach people, or especially I would say the opposite sex. So I think
yeah.
what I learned is I will have just these women sometimes come to me in the group and they were like, Carlos, like so and so did or said this, and I'm just like, you're kidding me, like I've known this guy for a year. you know and so there's a lot of it, so I can only imagine. I mean, I've never spoke with a woman in the space and asked anything like that, but I can imagine that there's some of that.
Like you mean like on the sexual notes type of thing, like or
Both,
just
both.
awkwardness?
Yeah,
I,
both.
I haven't come across the only person ever that I had a creepy situation with ever is you 100% know him is a well-known lawyer, well-known Amazon lawyer.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it was face to face here in Israel at an event, and it was very, very weird. It was in front of my husband, and it was just the weirdest thing ever. But I think that I speak so much, like I call myself a mamapreneur, and I speak so much about my husband and my son that I don't get that. And I haven't really I've dealt with awkward people. Like I've had conversation with just weirdos, but nothing that was like, I come from New Zealand, which is like the most peaceful place in the world where everyone's extremely polite and you get so dynamic. And I live in Israel where like everyone is always ready for a battle just in case. And you're always ready.
Is it really like that on the news? It seems like that. Like in the news, I imagine that there's
Oh,
army in the streets with
the
guns and
news is a
tanks on the
load of
corners.
crap. The news is totally not like that. Like
But I
100%.
went to Israel to dance at I used to dance a lot, salsa. And
Oh, wow.
I'll tell me how I met my wife. But there's in Israel, there's just such a large concentration of amazing salsa dancers. And
Really?
I didn't
Okay.
think that, like, that wasn't I guess the stereotype that and I went to a salsa congress in Israel, and it was beautiful.
It smells amazing. I don't live anywhere near the Gaza Strip. That's a different story. But I've been here for 10 years, so I've been through 3 wars. And when you say 3 wars,
That's
people think that like, there's like bombs over my head, but it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. It's not like that. It's not that I didn't fear for my life. The only time you feel tension, for example, between the Muslims and the Jews is when there's a war. Otherwise, we get along fine most of the time. I'm not talking about the Palestinian Arabs. I'm talking about Israeli Arabs. So they're Muslims, but they call
Yeah.
themselves Israelis. We're fine. And apart from when there's a war, you suddenly hear someone speaking Arabic, you take a step back, you make sure they don't have a knife in their hand or something like that. And it's sad. It's sad because, you speak about racism in America and against, blacks or even Hispanics and Jews and anyone that's not white, they say, but, it's in every single country and in both here. But Israel is, as my dad, and we probably could speak about this when we start recording properly, is like, so my parents are Israelis that moved to New Zealand. And I was brought up in an Israeli household, but I was a Kiwi in every sense. But my dad was an entrepreneur his entire life, and I was born an entrepreneur. And the thing about Israeli mindset or Jews is I didn't feel, and I would never say this publicly, I'm just saying it because it's you. I didn't feel at home in New Zealand, and I never knew that until I came to Israel. Because as a Jew and as an Israeli, and I didn't know I was Israeli, like I didn't realize I was it because I was just a New Zealander who happened to be Jewish, and we're not even religious. It's not, being Jewish isn't really a religion. It's, I don't know how to explain it. You don't have to be religious. I'm not religious, but I'm Jewish, you know?
It's almost like a race.
It's more of a race. And when I came here, I was like, oh my God, in New Zealand, I was really special because no one was like me. I was ahead of my time, and I was smarter than everyone in the sense of not at school on paper, but I knew how to make money like that from day one. And I was always ahead of my peers, and I was special because no one was like that and I grew up in a nice place and everything, but just no one was like me apart from the Muslims, because we have this Arabic type of culture or Middle Eastern culture. And then I came to Israel. I was like, holy crap, everyone's like me. Everyone has their own, like, everyone's entrepreneurs. It's like startup nation, you know, like all the biggest high tech comes out of Israel. And suddenly I wasn't special. I was like, everyone's like me, you know. It sucked in the sense of that. But that's the one thing I love about Israel, is that everyone's always, you know, on the go to find the next fix. Well, it's hustling, and everyone's always on the go. Like, everything's so rushed here. They want everything to be done like yesterday or a week ago or a month ago. And they're always on the go, and it keeps you on your toes, you know, because people are always in competition and stuff like that as well. So, but I hate the taxes here. I hate this country when it comes to taxes.
Oh, really?
It's just so bad. It's really bad. On a good year where we're able to, you know, then it's around 50%, something, 48%.
50%?
Yeah. So if you made $1 million profit, it's not actually a million, it's $500,000.
Well, so you really love Israel because you stay at 50%.
I don't love Israel. I hate Israel because of the taxes.
Right, but you must love everything else about Israel.
Well, no, I love my family, and my entire family's here. That's what I love about Israel. Okay. Because I grew up without
50%,
family.
I leave.
We were thinking about moving to Cyprus because there's only 14% tax there. We've lived in Cyprus in the past.
It's a major bonus just by moving.
It's like you don't have to make more money. You just make the same amount, and you're already making so much more.
You get a promotion.
The only reason we're thinking about Cyprus is because it's 30 minutes plane ride. So my mom can come help us, because you've got a baby too, right? A 2-year-old?
2.5-year-old and a 9-month-old daughter.
And do you guys you probably have a nanny, but do you guys have help? A lot of help from family?
Yeah, I have some
as well.
Yeah. I mean, the mother-in-law, I mean, she comes, but we have some nannies. And right now, though, for the last 4 months, has it been about 4 months with COVID? There's nobody. Like, we're not letting anyone come in.
So in the town we live in, my grandparents live in this town, and so does my mom and my sister. My sister's 24. So, and my mom is married, like her husband, because my dad lives in Australia. So we have a lot of help here. And I grew up in New Zealand with no family. Remember, my parents moved there. So I didn't have grandparents. And, you know, I know what it's like to grow up with just your parents and your brother and your sister. And then your friends become your family, and everyone has grandparents and you don't. So I don't want my son to grow up that way.
You have a son?
But I also, I've got a 3-year-old. And that's what I was saying to you, that I want to get pregnant again. I want to have another child because.
Oh, I didn't know if that would have been 2 or 3.
No, that will be number 2. My second child, whenever that'll happen. So,
good luck.
Yeah, thank you. So he's 3 years old. 3 years old now. And I don't want him to grow up without without an extended family. You know, I want him to have. So Cyprus, there's a really large English-speaking community there. There's a lot of people from actually from England, and they have specific English schools, and it's really close. So my mum could come and, you know, be with me for 2 weeks and go back for 2 weeks and come back, and I could, you know, pay for my grandparents to come, and it's 30 minutes away. It's like, it's probably like from one city to another city in America or something, or one state to another state. And Cyprus is amazing. Have you been to Cyprus?
Never.
Have you been in Greece?
Yes.
It's just like Greece.
Yeah.
It's literally,
yes, I was in
just
Greece.
like Greece. We fly to Greece like 5 times a year because it's so close. Greece is amazing, but tax-wise, it's not good. So Cyprus is probably going to be where we'll move next year.
All right.
Because I will do anything when it comes to taxes that can't get me in jail.
Right. Well, same
if
here.
it'll put me in jail, it won't. If the worst case scenario is just to pay the taxes, then I'm fine. But you know, if it can put me in jail, it won't do it. So, but it does mean I have to give up my citizenship here in order to pay taxes there. So it means that I give up my citizenship and you have to do it for a minimum of 5 years. Like I won't be able to come back to live here for 5 years. Otherwise I'll have to pay all the taxes that I made for what I made during those 5 years.
Wow.
So Israel is the 7th most expensive country in the world. 7th most expensive country in the world.
That's crazy.
But
if they implemented 50% taxes here, there would be a revolt.
It's like, it ends up being 50 because, I don't know, I think you call it like Medicare or something in Israel, in America, because you pay a certain amount for like Medicare or whatever. I don't really know how to explain it.
Oh, so it's state-run healthcare.
Yeah, that's one. And then on top of that, I think just the taxes that we pay are like 42%, something like that. And then the more money you make in this country.
I'm in the 36% tax bracket, but I'm able to legally creatively make that nothing.
You really can't do that much here. Remember, they're really tough here. And like I said, like I don't mind trying everything as long as I can't be put in jail.
Right.
You know, we have people working for us in the business, so we do everything that our accountant tells us to do. But he honestly came and said to us, look, with the amount of money you're paying taxes and the amount of money you're making, you should move to Cyprus. When an accountant tells you that, it's kind of like, okay, you know, at least for the next 5 years, we should probably move there. And then we can think about moving back. But yeah, that's what's probably going to happen. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's a big move. I mean, even though it's close, that changes a lot.
It'll be a big move for my husband because he'll start speaking English all day long because he speaks Hebrew.
Oh.
He speaks English fluently. He lived in Australia for 2 years, but it's not his mother tongue. Like he's Israeli, my husband. So, you know, have you ever spoken to Rafael from Unicargo? Or do you know who he is?
Yeah, I know who he is.
Do you remember his accent?
Yes, I do.
So my husband has an accent similar to his.
Okay.
It's like a typical Israeli accent for Israelis when they speak in English.
How many languages do you speak?
Just 2. Hebrew and English.
Hebrew and English. Okay.
Yeah, just 2. And I understand like a little bit of Arabic just from living here, like a tiniest bit. But I'll know if someone's speaking about me, but I know how to swear in Arabic. Apart from that, that's it. And I learned Spanish at school in New Zealand, but I honestly can't remember anything, you know, apart from like counting. So yeah, but it's it'll be a big move, but you know, it's kind of like have an extra couple of million or don't type of situation, you know. So,
yeah, I'd move.
Yeah. So yeah, it's probably going to happen next year. I think is when it's going to happen. So we'll see.
And you see yourself scaling the services side of the business as well?
It's tough because I'm a control freak and I find it really difficult. My biggest issue, the biggest mistake I made with our brands is that I didn't outsource more things, right? Because I'm such a control freak, and we could have been in a different place had I allowed other people to do certain things. But when you're a control freak, it's difficult because you don't trust anyone to do it's, I've just been burnt many times. Like even my marketing guy, I had a marketing guy. He literally disappeared, Carlos, a month and a half ago. He's in America. His name's Kevin Tusa, if you've ever heard of him. He did a lot of marketing for people in the industry, and he literally disappeared. He had all my passwords, knew all my brands, did all my social media, and he literally just disappeared. And a month and a half later,
around the time of COVID.
No, it had nothing to do with COVID. It took a month and a half for him to get back to me. It was every day he was still on Facebook. You could see him active, and he was reading WhatsApp messages, and he was on Instagram. You could see he was active, which was very weird. And it wasn't just me, it was other people. I was so pissed. I had to stop myself from speaking about him on social media. And he, a month and a half later, sends me all my passwords in an email saying, since we won't be working anymore, I won't be working with you anymore. And then in brackets, or anyone else, here are all your passwords. I already have new passwords. We already were able to get everything back, but it was just the weirdest thing in the world. So when you have that kind of stuff happen to you.
No reason given?
Nothing. And then I sent it back. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what happened? And he did not email back. And he blocked me on Facebook. He blocked everyone else that I know that's used him. And we started looking more into him, and you couldn't find anything on him anymore. I'm like, not even sure that's his real name. You don't even understand, but he did a really good job when he was working for us. So I just don't know. I don't know what happened. It's just the weirdest thing, isn't it? Just so weird.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just the strangest thing. So on the service side of things, I do see myself probably making I've got a product research course. I call it a workshop because there's videos, but we also have small groups where I do live product research with them. And it's not that I know of a product in advance and then I suddenly find it. Like they lead me and I start looking, it's like that.
Isn't that addictive?
Oh, it's so fun. I could do product research all day long. It's
Absolutely.
just so fun for me. I love it. And how I remembered you, because I didn't know you until the helium-10 thing, because I never really knew anyone in the industry apart from the people that I use, like my lawyer, Yael Kabili, and Unicargo and stuff, people that I've actually been using. And I remembered you because I made a hobbies video on YouTube. Did you see the hobbies video?
I don't know.
How to find products through hobbies, right?
I don't know, but that's one of the things that I was going to touch on that I want to touch on the podcast. So
we'll speak about that, and I'll say what I'm saying now on the recording as well. And I remembered you because of the insects, because through the hobby stuff, I found insect pinning, and I was like, it's a terrible niche to get into on Amazon, but I was like, what the fuck is this? Who the hell does insect pinning? Like, what? And then I remembered you because it was like a month or so after I did that video, and then I remembered about that you sell live insects, and I was like, who's this guy that sells insects? Like, what the hell? And then that's how I remembered you on the, yeah. Yeah,
I think that brand is the one that, like, I'll go to some events and I'm like, oh, you're the insect guy. I'm like,
because there's nobody, like, you never meet another insect guy, I think, in this industry. You're literally the only one. And most people would never even think that it's like a thing. I didn't until I started doing product research through hobbies. Yeah. You find so many weird hobbies and weird things and weird people. Like, do you actually like insects? So I'll be careful what I say.
No. Okay. I have thick skin. When I first got in the business, it was out of desperation. I just lost everything. It was just bad. And I found it trying to sell 2 of my reptiles, but I no longer have reptiles, as my wife would leave me. But I sold the business, and as I started selling other businesses after that, I started learning more about what makes a business attractive to exit? Like, what did my businesses have in common? And I realized that it was a bad deal. I mean, it was the best thing to happen to me at that time, but I definitely could have gotten a lot more from that business. So I was like, well, you know what? I'll start it again. I had a non-compete. And then as my non-compete started coming to an end, I started taking an interest in food shortages around the world, alternatives to protein, because I was looking at, I don't like getting into products. I think we're the same on that. I don't like getting into products that everybody else is doing, and I don't want to be a Me Too product. So when I was looking at protein powders, I was like, how could I differentiate myself as a protein powder? And I stumbled back into insects as not all insects, but super worms, feeder worms, and Dubai Jamaican crickets as a protein source. And I've never eaten one to this day. I never will. But I was like, wait a minute. So I started getting passionate in the sense of being able to be a source of feed, which was a big need. So when the non-compete ended, I started it. Now it's shockingly my highest grossing business, or highest grossing and highest profitable business. And I supply.
Do you grow insects?
Well, breed. I have.
You breed, you breed insects?
I have 4 25,000 square foot facilities that are breeding insects around the clock. We're a registered farmer in the US. I supply almost 25% of the poultry farmers in the US with insects for food. I export a ton for human consumption in Asia. And pretty much just anything on Amazon that's a listing for live insects is pretty much me or one of my different seller accounts, which with Amazon's blessing. And then here I am. So turtle food, I supply fish food makers, turtle food makers, just everything with the protein for that. Some breads I'm getting into, some protein supplements. So it's turned into a super exciting business. But I don't like insects. Like I don't pin them. Yeah, it is.
Did you know that there's such a thing as insect pinning? It's like a full-on hobby. They actually.
No, you mentioned it in the meetup group, and I looked it up because I was like, "Wow, is there something here that I'm not maximizing?" And
it's not a big niche.
No, it's not.
It's not a big niche.
But it is something. Like it could somebody that was looking to get started. It's not bad.
It's something. Maybe something for the supply, because when I was making that video, because I make videos where I can actually back stuff up. And I was like, yeah, there's not for Amazon, but it could be, if you made supplies for it outside of Amazon as well as used as Amazon as one of your things, it could be. But it's just the weirdest hobby in the world. Like, who the hell wants to pin a dead butterfly, or I don't know, a dead cricket? It's just
it seems off. Weird.
But people like it, along with heaps of other hobbies that are just so weird. Yeah. It's the weirdest thing. So
my other brands, I have the Tanner's brand, Zazzle for bar and wine tools, Mama Jamma bacon for candied bacon. What else am I missing? And cigar accessories. Those are like my current brands that are active now. But yeah, no, it's the insects. I don't know. It's crazy.
The insect stuff is just so weird. I'm just looking up hobbies because I remember when I went onto Wikipedia last time to look it up, there's just when you go to Google and you type in hobbies, there was another one I wanted to tell you that was really geocaching. Have you heard of that? Did
you mention it in the meetup group, or somebody mentioned it to me recently? What is it?
I probably did. It's these people that basically, it's like the biggest, what do you call it in English? When you hide things and people need to find it.
Like hide and seek?
No, you hide like things.
Treasure hunt?
Treasure hunt. It's like the biggest treasure hunt in the world. There's like 3 or 1 point something million people in America who actually are part of this weird hobby. And you basically go all over the world with like a compass and you try and find stuff that people have hidden. It's just so strange. And yeah, so that was another weird thing that you find when you go to Google and you look at hobbies. So geocaching. I think I'm pronouncing it right. I could be pronouncing it wrong, but I think it's how you pronounce it. Yeah, hobbies is like an interesting way to start to find products, I think, for newbies, you know, as well.
How do you go about picking your topics for your YouTube channel? Do you base it off of search on YouTube, or do you base it off of, you know, your clients or friends, or, you know, have a question? That's what I deal with. The meetup group wants videos created, but the videos created are like how to create an FBA shipment and just like all these different things that I'm like, oh my God.
I don't do that kind of stuff usually because it's just there's so many of them. I listen a lot to my group, which is not necessary. Nothing I do is like that on YouTube is how efficient I am with my Amazon and my brand's business. It's totally different from how I am with my personal brand because it's me and it's a totally different story and I'm the face of my brands, where else I'm not, like of my personal brand. And so I'm totally different. Don't do anything the right way on YouTube. Even though it looks like I do, I don't. I don't do the whole keyword research stuff. I just make what I do. Sometimes talk about trending things like code 5665. And I think I was the first, maybe the second person to make a video on Amazon posts. And usually when something comes out, I'll straight away make a video on it. But like, for example, the negative ASINing now in auto, I will probably make a video on that like tomorrow and things like that. But apart from that, they're usually around PPC and product research because it's what mostly people want to see. If because I'm thinking of making a PPC course, I'm not bringing out heaps of new PPC videos because there's only so much that you can do on YouTube that you then can't do in your course. You know, it can't be the same thing. But yeah, a lot of the time I'll just look at what all the fake people are doing and then I'll just go make a real video, you know?
What,
like it's,
so you feel PPC is a strong suit of yours?
I don't think for people at your level it is, and absolutely not.
Oh
but
no,
I think
I'm very good at it, but I hate it. Like I take no joy from it.
I don't think that I could take accounts, I mean, huge accounts and do things with them. But I think for teaching, PPC, I feel that I'm very good at PPC for my own accounts. I feel that I have had people, for example, I've never sold supplements. And then when people started coming to me with supplements, I was like, holy fuck, what the hell is a $12 bid? You know, like things like that you don't see when you're like selling in cosmetics and baby brands. So niches. But I think that what's happened over the last year is I've coached, like I say this and it's the truth. I've coached over 500 people in the last year and a half, which is heaps for a one-on-one.
Sounds like an Advil moment.
It's so much. And at least like, let's say 30 or 40% of that was for PPC. And I think for structure, I'm not aggressive and I don't do the whole put all the keywords in the same campaign type of thing. And I'm very specific.
You bifurcate all of them out.
I focused on a way where initially, I'll do what I tell everyone. If this was a pyramid, right? I'll first of all make sure that I can get into these keywords, which are the easiest keywords to rank for. And once I'm there and I've got the reviews, etc., I'll go for the main keywords. I don't go for the main keywords from day one. Today I do, but I'm talking about newbies when they're just starting out, not about people that are at scale. We're talking about initially new sellers that are just starting out with their first product, their second product, and they're so scared of spending so much money. You know, I've gone through all that emotion with them.
You know who has a good breakdown on that? I mean, that's a keyword competitor analysis, or competitive analysis. Him and I are just so polar opposites on everything Amazon, as it comes to business at Amazon. But he put out a really good video on that. It was Brandon Young.
We're total opposites, true. It's funny how you mentioned his name because he's the person that I always use as an example of the total opposite of me. Yes,
that's the same thing. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to sit here and come across as if I was bad mouthing somebody. But we couldn't be opposites as people, as business people. Just we are the total opposites. He's local as well. He comes by my meetup group sometimes.
Brandon Young, in my experience, I remind you, like last year amongst all our brands, we did, I think, like 1.8 last year. And this year we'll be doing over 2.2, I think.
But do you feel like you're in a healthy profit margin?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what matters.
We're,
That's
we're
all
in
that matters.
we're in a, well, yes, but our country takes half of it. But yes, we are in the best that we could be. Let's put it that
Okay.
way. And so what I'm trying to say is I'm not in anywhere near his level or your level, nor am I trying to be. But Brandon Young is extremely analytical. And his, for example, I've just had students have had come to me for one-on-one coaching.
I've had a
And
lot of his students come to me for one-on-one coaching.
yeah. So the thing is that people get, I think what in my experience, where people speak to even someone like you, or you're a lot more approachable, so you're more relatable. But the fact that you're an 8-figure seller to a newbie can be a little bit like, you know, oh my God, he's an 8-figure seller. And it's less sometimes relatable to some people, but you don't speak in a language that they don't understand, whereas Brandon Young does. And it's okay because it's the type of person that he is. But the thing about me is that I'm relatable in a sense that what I'm doing is at reach to newbies. Getting to $1 million in revenue a year is not that tough. 10 products that make you 10K a month. It's not that difficult, right? You need cash flow and you need money, which we did have, and I don't hide that. I say it from day one, right? But it's not that it's difficult. Getting to 8 figures and multiple 7 figures, that's tough. That's harder, and most people won't be able to do it. Agreed?
Sure.
But when you speak at his level and you make everything, you have a million spreadsheets just to get through your first freaking product. Like, people come to me, and a lot of people prefer his way, and then a lot of people prefer my way.
Sure.
Where it's all about the brand and it's all about reselling to the same buyer avatar with me. And it's all about, you find that person that you can sell to and you resell them different types of products. And it's so much easier for the people that are like me to do it like me, because I could never do Brandon Young's way of things. So,
well, that's a huge positive for you. I can tell. Brandon's way of doing things, that there's always, every year for the last 15 years, there's always been someone that does it Brandon Young's way. And then every time they come around, since I've been in the service side of things, it's always like that human side of you that's like, oh my God, somebody doesn't want to do it my way that's going to help them, and they want to instead run over to this shortcut. It's like you said, like every person's not going to be your customer, but I can tell you that your way, and this is like one of the main reasons why I want you on the podcast, your way of doing it is the way that is going to be evergreen, and 15 years from now, wherever Amazon's at, will still work.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So that's important.
I think that what I teach is not to be an Amazon seller. That's what I teach. That's exactly what I say to people, because I say to them, when you're consistently running after a product, something like this happens where Amazon tells you how much inventory you can bring in or what you can and can't do, or they suddenly, I had a listing restricted, a cosmetics product restricted that I've been selling for this should be its 3rd year, I think, now on Amazon. Suddenly I woke up and it was restricted. And I was like, what the hell? I'm ungated for beauty. Like, what? And I called Yael. Do you know Yael Kabili? She's from eKabili. She's actually a well-known Amazon lawyer. But she's physically in Israel, but Amazon lawyer. You know what I mean? Like, she deals with Amazon and stuff. She's physically in Israel, but she has an American office, and like 90% of her clients are American. And I call her up and I'm like, what the hell's wrong? Like, what's going on? You know, I don't panic anymore when stuff like this happens, but I was like, out of nowhere, right? Like, out of nowhere, it's a type of face mask, not a face mask. It's a cosmetics type of face mask. And I took all the keywords out ages ago when COVID hit, so that it wasn't, you know, made sure I started calling it face sheet rather than face mask and things like that. And I can't remember now what the keyword was that she thought was that triggered it. But like, imagine if they had taken that off, right? Not brought it back. It came back up like 36 hours later. But imagine if they had taken that off and that was my only product, because it's all I do on Amazon. It's like, you're just an Amazon seller. And if Amazon closes tomorrow, your entire business is gone, right? And I feel like that's part of the issue with all this hardcore. I'm not against analytical you don't have to be extremely analytical to be in this business. And if you watch my PPC videos, they're the most watched PPC videos. I will say that over the last year and a half, I do look at teaching PPC very differently. If maybe back in the day I did focus more on 10 clicks, I don't anymore. And maybe if back in the day I was a lot more conservative, I'm a little bit less, I'm still conservative, but a little bit less than what I used to be. Mm-hmm. And I have noticed that it's a lot more difficult for me to talk about PPC in a just like one video. This is the way that it works, because there is no one way to do PPC for every single product. And that's part of the tough thing. But I think that, you know, when I hear Liran talk and I hear Danny McMillan talk and I hear Lazar and all of them, I'm like, okay, wow, like they sound so much better than what I will ever sound. But I'm not trying to pretend. Like I always tell everyone, I'm not this huge expert. I'm just good at what I do. I know what I'm doing when it comes to my things, and it's working for other people. So, you know, I'm doing something right. But I think that when I listen to them, it's like, well, Liran says this, and then Danny says this, and then Lazar says this, and then what's his name, Brian Johnson, they all do things totally separate, and then I do it my way, and the thing is, it works for everyone. Do you get what I think? I don't know what they're doing, but, you know, I can see what Liran shows, and it looks like he's doing really well for his clients, but the thing is that these are people that are also taking on accounts that spend a minimum of like 10K per month, 30K per month. They're doing PPC at scale. And
I mean
yeah.
But it cuts both ways. If you have the larger accounts, it just means that the failures you have are larger failures. That's it. So
I mean that when you're a PPC agency, right? Because Danny McMillan and I are, well, I wouldn't say that we're good friends, but I've been on his podcast like, I don't know, 50 million times. And
that was like the podcast I wanted to get on forever, and I got on the podcast. So I'm like, all right, I like his podcast.
Yeah, Danny's just a really good person. He's really good, and you know, he doesn't care if you're his competitor either. He's a really good person, and I tried to send Danny someone like a 6-figure seller who makes more money than most 7-figure sellers that I know, because his product costs like $1.50 and he sells it for well over $35. And Danny wouldn't take him on because he's not a 7-figure seller. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, scale him to 7 figures and go. This is a guy that he's got way too many SKUs. He needs someone to take care of his PPC. I had a headache from just looking at his PPC. And, you know, when you've used to working with PPC with such huge budgets, it's not the same when you're teaching someone who's just started PPC. Do you get what I mean? That's what I mean. So they're talking to people from a level they're at huge scale with like 30, 40K a month budgets per account minimum. And then they're trying to teach people who don't even understand PPC. So when you ask me, do I feel that like PPC is a strong subject? I think I explain and teach PPC very well for newbies to understand. And then once you start scaling your business and you understand your niche better, at least you have the foundation to know, because, you know, PPC is trial and error. Agreed?
Do you have any beginner PPC presentations?
Yeah, they're on my YouTube channel. I've got like a 50-minute beginner one. My structure's changed since then, because I used to do a lot more phrase and today I do it way more broad. I'm asking because like twice a month we have a PPC event. I don't think that, I watched Liran, I think, on your thing, and I'm like, how can you compete with someone that like, you know,
look, Liran's really good, but between you and I, it had the worst feedback than any other PPC presentation I've ever had in the meetup.
Really? Because I didn't watch it all. I watched. Like
I thought it was good.
Is it because it's mostly newbies?
I mean, it's a mixed bag, but newbie is such a relative thing. Like my advanced group. First time I started the advanced group, and 100,000 a month, blah blah blah, and the first event I was like, I'll do it, and I'll talk about virtual team building at a higher level. And the majority of the questions were, where do you hire a VA? How do you hire a VA? Like that was all the questions. And I was just blown away because I was like, oh my God, this destroys this whole mystique of advanced. And so it's super relative.
The thing is, just because someone makes 100K a month doesn't mean they know what the hell they're doing. I've got a guy, have you ever seen the coaster that says, don't fuck up my table?
No.
You know that coaster? There's a coaster, it's like extremely saturated in Amazon, and there's a coaster and it comes with a holder and it says, don't fuck up my table. The first guy to sell that was someone from my group. And when he started, there was no competition. Today, it's extremely saturated. He's the #1 seller. Just from that product, he makes like 90K a month. Just from this one $14 product, he makes around 90K a month. He's never done PPC because you can't do PPC when you have the word fuck in your thing, in your listing. He has really got no idea what he's doing. And it's like, I don't believe in luck, but it's luck. You know? Right. He was very smart where he saw a saying, he put it on a coaster and he was the first one to do it. And it was very smart. But just, you know, like, so you would have him, for example, he took my product research course, like workshop. And this is like a $90,000 a month, you know, seller. Sometimes he makes over 100K. Sometimes it's, you know, it depends on it. During Q4, he kills it. He's got no freaking idea what he's actually doing. You know, he's just riding along and trying to scale to sell that one product and you know, God knows what he's going to do. But so just because this is what made me laugh when Danny wouldn't take on this client that I was trying to send him, because I was like, just because someone does a certain amount, like the first question you asked me, it doesn't actually matter how much you make in revenue. It matters how much you make in profit. And we speak about revenue when we're service providers because that's what everyone does. Right. But if, you know, our newest brand made...
Well, in perspective, I only did, like last year, I had my smallest profit margin to date. And it was a little bit over 10%.
Wow.
So we took a nasty hit.
Yeah, but you've got, your 10% is like heaps, but yeah, I know. I get what you're saying.
No, we barely cracked 100 million, 10%, 10 million. But then there's business partners, there's everything. Yeah, I did really good, but we took a nasty hit in the first quarter of last year that translated into a much lower than what I would normally accept profit margin. So yeah, that gross number means nothing.
You can never say that on YouTube, because if everyone ever hears you say, they could have been, what the fuck is he complaining about?
No, yeah, so I'm saying it here. I would never say that.
I know. No, I know. I'm just saying that, like, see, that's something that on YouTube, because I feel like I'm not an underdog or anything, but I feel like because I'm so not trying to be, I'm really like Danny. Like, I'm a woman, yes, but I swear a lot, and it doesn't make me bad. I won't swear on your podcast, I promise. But
no, it's okay. You just be you.
But it's you know, I'm so not trying to be. I'm me on my YouTube channel. I'm just me. I'm not trying to be anyone else. I'm just me. And it's either you love me or you hate me, and you know, and it's fine. But I say it how it is. But I'm very careful to say, do not compare yourself to me. To the newbies, people sometimes, so what do you this? And I'm like, we're not speaking about me, because what I do and where I started from and the cash flow that I had when I started is not the same place where you're at, and do not compare yourself to me. I always say that to people, you know, like it's the biggest thing is they try and compare themselves, you know, to the service provider or whatever it may be. It's like, I would never say to you, so Carlos, you know, so how did you do this and this and this last year? Because it's so out of, you know, it's out of reach for me in general and for most newbies as well, right? So, but anyway, when we're talking about newbies, it's interesting how, you know, I would probably be in your VA presentation being like, so really that's what you do with a VA? Because do you know Gilad Freeman from VAA?
It sounds familiar.
He has, it's VAA, and it's VAs from the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And he trains them specifically for Amazon. Specifically, like they're trained Amazon.
I think he reached out for some sort of like collaboration or sponsorship, but it seemed like he was also an Amazon seller.
He is, but I don't know. I don't think that he's a very good Amazon seller.
Well,
don't know.
the thing was, I just floated it by some people in my group, and I'm like, hey, what would you think about someone who runs a VA agency and trains VAs that you can hire, but also sells? Because then it becomes this, information passing
Mm,
issue. And they
he's,
had an issue. I didn't.
I think that, I've never looked at it that way. He basically reached out to me and wanted his VAs to go through my product research course. And then like in exchange, he would send me clients, which are like newbies. And I was like, but I don't want newbies. I don't want people that know nothing. Cause I say it in advance. I don't have patience to teach you what the BSR is and come to me when you know a little bit. And then I'll teach you how to find products and how to build a brand. But do not come to me when you know nothing, because I really don't have the patience for it. I have a 3-year-old and I have a husband, and I don't have patience to start teaching you simple things that you should already know by the time you come to me, type of thing. I know it's terrible to say, but it's the truth. And so I'm still thinking about that. But he, for example, was trying to send me one of his VAs he wouldn't make profit on it. He wanted me to pay I don't know, $3.50, $4, something, $4 an hour or something like that. And I was like, no, thanks. I'll train my own VA. I don't want someone who's been trained by another company. I'll train, if I ever have a VA, which I will at some stage, I'll train them myself. It's exactly why I don't have a VA through companies. It's,
well, him wanting to buy the course for training, that's brilliant. I started doing
he didn't
that.
want to buy it for training. He wanted me to give him my course.
Oh, for free.
He wanted, yeah, which is fine. I would have done it if I would have seen that he wanted his VA, his top VA, the one that teaches everyone, to get my course for free, to go through the entire course, to go through all of the live, there's 4 calls where it's me doing live product research, and then 1 call is with Ken. He wanted her to go through it with him, and for her to go through it with everyone.